So if you like doing old papers which are containing questions that are no longer relevant, or studying old topics which are no longer relevant, then don't watch this video. But if you want to stay up to date and be more productive as far as the exam is concerned and not just knowing things, then watch this video certainly. It's 2023, 2024, 2025 IGCSE Physics for University of Cambridge exams. What has changed? Well, main topics and subtopics removed: digital electronics, gas laws, measurement of temperature, pressure, with specific focus on the removal of barometers and manometers, not just pressure in general. You should of course know what pressure is, but specifically barometers and manometers. Thermal capacity as a concept. Now, keep in mind that as an educator, I highly recommend that there are some basic phenomena, basic stuff that you should know from an understanding point of view to understand some of the other connected concepts. It's just that you may not need to use them specifically in the exam, or may not be specifically asked about them. So for example, Boyle's law, P1 V1 equals P2 V2, initial pressure times initial volume equals final pressure times final volume. Very important concept. You'll ultimately, if not at IGCSE, at A levels or equal, you're going to see it, right? So understanding the fact that pressure and volume are inversely related from that perspective as a concept, it's not a bad thing. It's just that when they say we are removing gas laws, you may not need to worry about that as the last minute revision thing when the final exam is concerned. Exam is coming up. You have to be more picky, more choosy in terms of what you spend your time on. From that perspective, yeah, like you can forget about it. Digital electronics, I'm just going to show you the 2022 syllabus so that you have a reference perspective here. What do we mean by digital electronics? Well, this is the section on digital electronics, the logic gates, and NOT and OR and stuff. So yeah, like this is what they're talking about. If you scan for the same in this paper, this syllabus 2023 and onwards, you don't see that section, right? Pop up. It's removed. Measurement of temperature, well, you can measure the temperature with a thermocouple, you can measure the temperature with a standard thermometer. If you look into the old syllabus 2022, measurement of temperature, it shows up as a section, right? You can of course pause and read it. But if you search for the same in the later syllabus, measurement of temperature doesn't show up from that section's perspective as it pops up here. That doesn't of course mean that you shouldn't know how to use a thermometer. You should know the basics of that. It's just that from this section's point of view, the exam may not focus on that like this. Thermal capacity as a concept. So if I show you the old syllabus, thermal capacity has an equation linked to it. It has a definition linked to it. If you search for the same in the current syllabus, 2023 and onwards, it doesn't show up as a section in the syllabus like that, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't have a general idea of the fact that when we are heating an object, like a glass of water or just basically a cooking pot made out of a metal, the mass and the material, they will have an impact on how much time it would take to raise the temperature of the body by a degree Celsius. As a physics student, those general concepts are important, and if not today, in a future exam at a higher level, you will encounter the concepts. There's no harm in knowing that, but again, I'm pointing out that when the exam is coming near and you need to prioritize a lot in terms of what you practice, what you revise, you have to know these things very well, right? Main topics and subtopics added. Well, absolute scale of temperature, and that refers to the Kelvin scale. Electromagnetic spectrum, which used to be there previously, but they're saying that we have added some learning objectives with respect to communications, use of the unit kilowatt hour, and then space physics. For me, space physics is the major addition that you really have to be concerned about. But let me just show you the communications aspect. Communications. Yeah, like communications such as remote control, television, intruder alarm, thermal imaging, optical fibers. Where else does it show up? Shows up here as well. Mobile phone, Bluetooth, optical fibers. There's some stuff around this that they are basically emphasizing on. And like I said, space physics in their latest syllabus, that's the major thing that you should really work on. After radioactivity comes space physics. It has topics like the Earth, solar system, where you get to study about how our galaxy works, the sun as a star, and some concepts associated with that. All of that has been added. So yeah, like that's something that you really need to be familiar with now. That's the major thing I would want you to focus on. And whenever a new section gets added like this one, of course you are dealing with the idea that you have to guess more in terms of what can they really ask in the exam, because you don't have as many past paper questions to practice. But there is, with every syllabus change, a specimen paper that is published. You can easily find that at the University of Cambridge website. I'll link it down in the video. The specimen paper gives you some relevant questions that you can of course use as an initial practice for the chapter. Other than that, of course, you should pay attention to the learning outcomes in the syllabus so that you don't have any surprises in the exam. But the specimen paper is the best opportunity to learn some related concepts. And other than that, you can of course use the textbook questions to get some additional practice, which are not highly always linked to the type of question that come in the exam, which is why I am emphasizing the specimen paper. And apart from that, yeah, of course, you can, if you're appearing beyond 2023, you can of course use the question that will show up in the 2023 exams as a source of practice as well. Other than that, our online courses always focus on this type of stuff from a technical standpoint to make you do well in the exam. Whatever I've talked about, like knowing the theory specifically, practicing smartly, getting your answers evaluated, all of that is covered in our online courses in a great detail, and that's something that you can of course apply for as well. And that is the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and make sure that you keep these changes in mind when preparing for the 2023 and onward exams for physics.